We'll go to Jeff, then we'll go to Mike Embry, and then we'll go to Jenna.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. It's been 10 weeks since the MWR scandal and the fallout. What, if any, impact do you think that had on the season or the chase? I mean, does that leave a stain on this season, or have things kind of moved on to the point that you think the sport has recovered from that?
Well, I think it was a defining moment, and we spoke a lot about it back in Chicago when we were making steps toward what we would do as a league, and I think it was important for us to do that quickly so that we could move on. One of the tough things about our sport is the length of the season, but it's also an asset at times, and so you move on fairly quickly. And I think in the case of Richmond this year in September, I suspect that that moment will be reflected on for many years to come, but the decisions that we made, the reaction in the industry that self-polices itself, or polices itself, I should say, is indicative of our environment, and we've kind of moved on from that. Certainly, because of the uniqueness of having the 13th competitor in the chase, it made a difference on the 2013 chase format, so to speak, but I think we've made the decisions we made after Richmond before we even started the races in Chicago, which was the right thing for us to do. We did it with a lot of thought and engagement by a lot of people in the business to make sure we took the next step correctly to decide what we needed to do and then go on, but I think we've moved on.
We'll go to Mike, we'll go to Jenna, and then Bob Pockris.
Mike Embry, Athlon Sports. Mike, with the 15 TV package arriving, we keep hearing talk about possible significant changes in the Cup schedule for 15 and beyond. Can you give us some context on kind of what you guys are thinking about there, and if indeed there might be some pretty big changes coming?
Well, the one thing we can count on is 14. We put that schedule out, so, and you can, from experience, it tells you that the previous year kind of establishes the basis for what goes next. And I would also, and I'm from old school, and we think a lot further down the road than we used to, and so we're concluding 13. We've announced 14, and constantly think about 15, 16, 17, all the way out. But the decisions around exactly what may or may not happen in 15 haven't been formalized, or certainly it takes a lot of dialogue with racetracks and the industry, the TV partner as well, particularly in 15, since it's Fox is continuing, but NBC is coming back, and they're very interested in what their product looks like, but they're invested in what they saw and see. 13 and 14 is what they invested in. But we're always anxious to as well as some of the promoters are anxious to mix it up, if you will, to make it work better. And you see a little bit of that this year. We still have a realignment policy where a promoter can come to us and ask to flip a couple of dates that doesn't infect anybody but them and the fans that attend those events, and we take a look at those. But as we go forward, I couldn't sit here and tell you what 15 definitely would look like, other than to take 13 and 14 as a basis and then see what happens. I will also say, 10 years ago, just because it's the 10th year of the chase, when we first started the chase, we said that we weren't going to change the schedule to fit the chase, but that was 10 years ago, and things change, and you never know what may or may not happen, but certainly I think the expectations of the entire schedule is something the industry relies on, and we have it goes back to the conversation I had earlier about having the full industry to weigh in, and while we may not think it needs to be tweaked or changed, others have influence on our decision to make it better, and certainly that we keep an open mind to that.
Let's go with Jenna, Bob, and then Claire.
Jenna Fryer, AP. I wanted to follow up on Jeff's question about Richmond and the fallout from that. One, I believe you said that the decisions that NASCAR made were the right decisions. So looking back, you're confident, or you would not change anything in the way NASCAR handled that situation? I just want to clarify that point first.
That's correct. We're confident in what we did. Yeah.
Now, in the whole 100% rule and the monitoring or taking the scanners, the banning digital radios, have you found that NASCAR has had to police that? And I know that you have called the garage a self-policing garage, but do you know that that has taken care of the issue, and are you confident that this is not a problem going forward and won't be this weekend or in the future?
Well, certainly it's an issue that we have to continue to monitor as well as the industry. But I think for some time anyway, the incident itself and our reaction to it and the industry's reaction to it, whether it's through the fans or sponsors or what have you, it creates such a huge awareness around it that I think teams will actually for some time be more careful than ever, which is the purpose of penalties anyway, is to eliminate it from happening again, so to speak. But I would also tell you that we're experienced enough to know that it's on us to continue to monitor it and to find new ways through technology or steps that we may take to be sure that the garage area is reminded that someone is still concerned with this topic and will continue to keep after it and watch after it. But I think since we made the announcements we made in Chicago to the group privately and then to the public, it's been reacted to very respectfully, and we'll continue to look at ways that we can continue to remind them that we don't want to do that again.
We'll go to Bob, Claire, and Dustin. Bob?
Bob Hocker, Sporting News. Dario Franchitti announced yesterday they would not race again because of the risk of future serious injuries. Do you look at that decision as a validation of your implementation of impact testing for next year? And do you think it will impact the opinions, pro or con, of the doubting drivers of your implementing that policy?
I don't know what effect it might have on that. I think it has a huge effect in all the motorsports industry when a caliber a driver like Dario says that he's not going to get back in the car, and that's fairly final. We heard from one of our more significant participants last year when Dale Jr. said, I'm going to take myself out for the rest of the season, or for part of the rest of the season for safety's sake. And those moments are huge in the industry. And I think I won't use the term that it validates motorsports interest in safety or medical steps or things that we do to protect our drivers and our fans and our team members. But I think it is certainly a reminder that our sport is still dangerous, and the effort around safety across the board should never be given up on. Dario is a very significant motorsports figure. We enjoyed him when he was in NASCAR. He's not only a talented race car driver, he's just a talented individual and a very personable person. So the good thing is he was able to do this in his own terms, so to speak. And we wish him the best and hope we see him at some of our races, sitting on Ganassi's box or wherever he wants to sit. But I think at the end of it all, it's a reminder that our sport still has danger attached to it.
Okay, we're going to be able to take 3 more questions. We're not going to be able to get to everybody, but we'll go with Claire, Dustin, and end with Marty.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Mike, can you expand on the unprecedented investment in our sport, be it PR, team members, or marketing, technology, the NASCAR Fan and Media Engagement Center? Was that to right the ship or things that maybe should have been done maybe a bit earlier for the sport? And then can you expand on the Fan and Media Engagement Center, what you're finding out about the fans of NASCAR?
Yeah. To your first question, I think it's just a function of a good business decision, a decision to be relevant and modern. I think along the way, I think the 65-year history of our sport, you can go back and you can look at big decisions that are made by Bill Sr., by Bill France, and Brian France. And they were key decisions that were made for the next band of years, if you will. And so I think the investment in the competition and R&D around innovation and technology is one of those major moments that Brian says that this is 2013, and we have business relationships now with major stakeholders through 2024. And so what does our world look like in that stretch of 11 years? And so from that comes the decision to invest in one of the most visible pieces of our business, which is the sporting event, which is the races at the racetrack. And so I think that's more what drove NASCAR's decision to do what we're doing. You're going to have to help me remember your second question. It was the Fame Center, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I missed touching on that. It's the Fan and Media Engagement Center is on the 8th floor of our Charlotte office. Hewlett-Packard is our partner in this center, but it's Brett Jukes and his folks created a very technologically driven center that gives us the ability to monitor our fans and our industry 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And in today's world, that's critical because things happen so very quickly, and reaction to those things are important. And I think that's what you see NASCAR doing. But it starts with the ability to have a good understanding of what's going on around you. And in a digital social media world, that center is paramount to helping us understand what's going on around us, and so it helps us make decisions. That they're loyal, and they're very opinionated, and that's a good thing.
Let's go to Dustin, and we'll end with Marty. Dustin?
Dustin Long, Motor Racing Network. Mike, this year NASCAR's had to penalize multiple drivers for comments or things that they've made in regards on social media, regards to slurs or stereotypes. And I want to ask you, what is NASCAR's responsibility in dealing with this in the sense of stopping this before it happens? And I mention that because I think other sports kind of have symposiums or what have you with younger drivers, kind of going over the ins and outs of things as they come into the sport. And you've talked about how there's so many younger drivers coming in the sport. The age has been reduced. This is probably an issue that's not going to go away. So what is NASCAR's responsibility in doing this, and why not a symposium to address this before you have to penalize somebody in the future?
Well, I think the whole industry has a responsibility to that, and one of the big assets of NASCAR is so many stakeholders involved. And from a driver's perspective, he has a relationship, obviously, with NASCAR. He has a relationship with the team owner. He has a relationship with the team members, the team sponsors, and he has a relationship with the fans. So it's universal for all of us to have a role in helping the driver understand what's okay and what's not okay. As it comes to new drivers that come along that may lack the experience of understanding the ramifications of things like that, NASCAR began a rookie symposium. Cassidy, how long ago did we start that? 3 years? Okay, so 14 will be our 4th year of our rookie symposium, and part of that was to lay out the minefield that you're getting into beyond the racetrack itself, and very specifically, and I'm sure 14 will address it even more as we see the progression of social media being such a part of our everyday lives, of the ramifications and the expectations from NASCAR, as well as there are other stakeholders that to be aware of this type of thing.
Final question over to the right, Marty.
Marty Smith, ESPN. Good morning, Mike. you've been doing this 35 years. You've seen the greatest of all time in the greatest moments of their time. What do you see out of Jimmy Johnson? How would you describe his Cup Series career over the last 12 years?
I don't know that there's a definition for it yet. And those that have been around in the sport for a long time have seen the evolution of the definition of the greatest driver in the greatest moments, which is what sports is. I mean, sports is the only true reality show that exists. And so it has those moments. That's what makes sports and so entertaining. So it's the first thing you want to do is you want to compare Jimmy to a driver that preceded him based on statistics or what have you. The fact of the matter, though, is I think the definition of Jimmy Johnson as a driver is yet to be determined. But certainly every season he participates adds to that definition. I think history books are more kind to you than current moments are, but nobody can dispute the talent that he's got and the organization and the continuity of that organization. I don't know if we've ever had, and Kerry and his guys can vouch, I can't recall a driver and a crew chief that has stayed aligned other than Dale Inman and Richard Petty for so long, so many events, under so much pressure, and continue to perform at the level they have. And I think it goes both ways. I think it complements their performance, but their performance complements their relationship. So it's a long answer to a short, really what should have been short. I just don't think the definition of Jimmy Johnson has been completely capsulized yet.
Mike, as always, we appreciate you coming in. It was good hearing from you. Everybody have a good weekend.